immediately. And a for Shlema for all those that need. For also a student by us. And David Alevi and Menucha Ad Lester. Okay. We're on Lamed Zayin, Amid Beis. We left off sort of in the middle. We said, talking about Tchumen, you're not allowed to walk 2,000 amas out of the residence, as out of the city where there's. So we learned that the objects, the kalim and the animals also have the law of Tchumen based on the restrictions of the owner. So he said, what about if something is passed on to a shepherd? So Reb Beitza said that if an animal is given to a shepherd, it has the restrictions of the shepherd, not of the owner. The Mishnah said that it has the restrictions of the owner, even though it's given to the shepherd. It's given to the shepherd on Yom Tov. So we said, our Mishnah doesn't fit with Reb Beitza. So we gave an answer. Actually, could fit with Reb Beitza, and it depends. Do you have two shepherds in the town, or do you have just one shepherd? If there's one shepherd, then that was obviously the intent when Shabbos Yom Tov came in, that it's going to go to the shepherd. Then we have a statement from Rabbi Yochanan that halacha Reb Beitza. That's what we learned. The Gemara asks, Rabbi Yochanan hachi, Rabbi Yochanan halacha kastam Mishnah. But Rabbi Yochanan says halacha is like the Mishnah, and now we're forgetting the answer that we just gave, that our Mishnah could fit with Reb Beitza as well. But that seems to be a contradiction, because our Mishnah says one thing and Reb Beitza says another thing. You go after the owners. It says, but you already gave an answer to that issue, and you said that there's a difference. It's a different scenario. They're not arguing; it's just a different scenario. If there's one shepherd, then it follows the shepherd, which is Reb Beitza's case. And if there's more than one shepherd in the city, then it follows the owners, which was the Mishnah. Okay. Yeah, I have a question on this Gemara, because if there's no machlekes, which is what the Gemara is trying to say, then why does Rabbi Yochanan say halacha Reb Beitza? A lot of times when the Gemara says halacha Reb Beitza, the Gemara then adds in a phrase, halacha mechlal de pligi. If you're saying that that's the halacha, obviously there's someone that argues that you have to say that that's halacha. But we just said that there's no argument. It's just. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Taner Rabbanan. Yeah, we're about to get into quite an interesting sugya. Two interesting sugyas today. One is Breira, another one is Bittel. These are huge sugyas. This is a few weeks of work in the yeshiva. Okay, it says Shnaim sheshalu cholak echad b'shutvis. Two people borrow one cloak. B'shutvis, they borrow it together. Zelelech b'shachris l'beis hamedrash, zelikanis b'arvis l'beis hamishta. That's the Gemara's choice of what someone's going to do in the morning. He's going to go to shul, and the other person is going to go to a party at night. You have to be dressed up for both. So they're going to share this borrowed garment. Now, because it's Shabbos or Yom Tov, so if they're going to walk outside the city to wherever the event, the Beis Medrash is, they have to put an Erev. An Erev would allow them to walk further than the regular 2,000 amas. They can walk further. The problem is that the Beis Medrash is on one side of town, and the party hall is on the other side of town. So, if it's like a Venn diagram where they overlap, then what's going to happen is they're going to put a restriction on each other, because it's going to get the limitations of each of the other one. If they each put the Erev 2,000 amas away, then that cloak is stuck in the center. It can't move to the right or to the left at all. If they put it 1,000 amas away, then it'll be they're 2,000 amas apart. They'll only be allowed to walk, I guess, to each other, because you can't walk past the 2,000 amas on this side because the 2,000 amas of this one is restricting it. Usually I could walk an extra 2,000 amas. Now I'm stuck right there in the same one. Okay, so it says like this: Zeshe Iriv alav Litzafan, the one that put the Erev on the north, Mahalach Litzafan, Karagle Mishir of alav Ladarim. You can only walk as far as the other one could have walked.
Oh, so if they're 2,000 away, they can't.
So if they're each 2,000 in opposite directions, you're stuck. We'll see that in a second. Zeshir of Ladarim, the one that put the Erev on the south, Mahalach Ladarim Karagle Mishir of Litzafan. He can walk to the south only as far as the one on the north would have been able to walk. Yeah, it starts to beep. You're out of the tchum. Okay. That means that they went as far as possible to each side.
From each other.
Yeah. Then they can't. This item can't move at all because it's stuck. Basically, the two Erevs are 4,000 amas away from each other. 3,999. And so it's really stuck right here. If you move to this side, you're getting out of the 2,000 amas from that one. If you move to that side, you're getting out of the 2,000 amas. You can't move. Okay, Yitzmar. Let's go further in this. We have a statement of Amiroyim. That was a brisa. Shnayim shalakhu chavas behema b'shutfus. They purchased a barrel or an animal as partners. We're going to split it. So it's a machlekes Rav and Shmuel, because we're talking about it's on Yom Tov. And the question is, what's the restrictions that they're going to have of moving this barrel? Because each one of these people has an Erev set up in a certain place. So can they take their part of it and go back to where they want it to be for Yom Tov? Because they bought it together. So each one is going to say, I want to take my part and I'm going to go. The problem is that when you take your part, are you taking part of the other person as well? Or can you slice this perfectly? So Rav Amar Chavis Muteres. Rav says the barrel is not going to have any problem. You just separate your wine. You see, what happened is they bought it before Yom Tov, but they didn't divide. They owned it when Yom Tov came in, but it was only going to be divided on Yom Tov. Ubehema asura, but the animal is going to be usher to divide it up. Now, that's a little inconsistent, because what does he hold over here? Can you hold that you can cut it? So then just cut it. Shmuel Amar Chavas Nami Asur. Shmuel has a more consistent opinion. He says that the barrel is also usher. Says that when you take your part of the barrel, you take your wine that you wanted, you didn't really have wine. You're just right now, you both own the whole barrel. So when you take yours, you're basically purchasing it from the other person by giving him you say, well, you take the part that I own, this, and that will be fully yours. Because we each own the whole thing, just as two owners. So, but that's a problem according to Shmuel, because there's an Erev issue. You can't take someone else's item and then take it too far out of the tchum. So what Shmuel is saying really is ein breira, that even though later on you're going to divide it, but we don't say retroactively that was your intended part from the beginning. It's only a division from here and now. So when Yom Tov came in, you actually own the whole thing, which now puts a restriction on your friend, and your friend owned the whole thing, which puts a restriction on you. You can drink it here.
No matter what you do, you each own 50% of each one.
Right.
So there's no way to drink the wine without It's like land, which you probably we talked about.
Yeah, we're gonna have the case with the land. Right. You see,
50% of every milliliter.
right. The problem is that the problem here is that you want to take it to your location. So that's the issue. I mean, you could put a straw in and drink it right here from the barrel. Two straws. Okay. So the Gemara asks, Micah Rav, because I can understand if Rav would say that yesh breira. What you're going to do today was really retroactive. We'll go back and, oh, that was your intended part, and therefore you always own this. I could say that, but then why didn't he say that by the animal? Ikasavar yesh breira, if he holds that we do say this retroactive division, then the animal should be mutter for him to take half the animal, because that's what he owned when Yom Tov came in. And if he holds that we don't say breira, the retroactive division, why is he allowed to take from the barrel? Look at the Gemara's answer. He holds that there is a division, retroactive division. Each one owned half the barrel before when Yom Tov came in. They only owned half, and the part that he's going to get tomorrow is going to be his original half. Vishanya behema, but animal is different. The kayanki tchumen me'adadi, because there is a sustenance that comes from one part of the animal that goes to the other part of the animal, and you can't say that what I owned yesterday was living on its own without getting any nutrients from the other half of the animal. And because I've been now absorbed some of the nutrients from the other side of the animal, so that restriction now applies. You see, I owned half the animal yesterday. Which half? I'm only going to find that out tomorrow. So on Yom Tov. So on Yom Tov, I own half the animal. Which half? The part that I'm getting. The problem is that since when we got it, since when Yom Tov started, and now part of the animal that wasn't really mine, the other slices of meat and whatever, are now have been absorbed into this and have been absorbed into this, and then now how can I walk it further than that absorption from the other side was allowed to go? So that's going to be Rav's explanation. Amri le Rav Kanavar Ravasi le Rav. See, the Gemara is discussing this as if Rav didn't say it. Micah Savar Rav. The Gemara says, oh, we have a solution. Sounds like Rav wasn't there. But now the Gemara has, like, this is the conversation with Rav. Amri le Rav Kanavar Ravasi le Rav. These are two famous students of Rav. They say, you have an inconsistency in the way you're concerned about the absorption of one part of the animal into the other. Because when it comes to muktzah, so the way Rashi learns this, did you have intention to eat the other person's meat? No, you only intention for your own. Now it turns out that you have some of the other person's meat inside, and you're allowed to go ahead and touch it and move it and all of this, even though it's muktzah midaita. It's been designated out that wasn't your meat. You're not going to touch it, and now you're taking some of it and you're moving it. So when it came to muktzah, you didn't have a concern, but you do have a concern only about the tchumen because of that absorption. So make up your mind. What is that absorption a real issue or not? Taisus doesn't like Rashi's pshat. He says, what? I'm not allowed to eat someone serves me food. That food is muktzah to me. But I never heard of that. I'm allowed to eat his food. That doesn't become muktzah. So Taisus has a different pshat. Taisus pshat is like this. Rabbeinu Shmuel, he quotes. He says, the animal has grown since yesterday. Yom Tov food. It put on some weight. So that's new. That's something new that came in, and that should be considered muktzah. This new weight that it put on. Why is that muktzah? I guess it wasn't part of the animal yesterday, right? But you're not concerned about any of this new weight that the animal's putting on. You're only concerned about this absorption that's coming from the other side that's going to limit the tchum. Okay. Shasik Rav. Rav is quiet. He doesn't have an answer. Yeah. The Kabbalists say that he has only a Kabbalistic answer, but he can't reveal it. It's a Shasik Rav. Okay, my Haviala. What's the end over here with this Breira? And if there is Breira, not Breira, how do we view things that get divided? Do we say that it was originally, that's the original division, retroactive, or not? Rav Hoshi Amar Yesh Breira, Rav Yechanan Amar Ein Breira. It's machlokes. Rav Hoshi says you go retroactive, and Rav Yechanan says no, it's from now on Ein Breira. We don't say that what it was originally. The Gemara challenges this statement. Rav Hoshi Yesh Breira. Rav Hoshi really holds that. But we have a Mishnah. We learned this Mishnah earlier in the Masechta. Hameis Babayis. There's a corpse in the house. So under the roof, everything is tummy. But there's one other halacha about this, and that is that not only is everything that's under the roof tummy, but everything that's under the doorways is also tummy. Now, which doorways? Well, if all doorways are locked equally or open equally, so then all of them are tummy. But if they're all locked and one of them is open, so then that's the way the exit of the corpse is going to go out, and only that one's tummy. So v'lei psachim harbi, and there are a lot of doorways. Well, it's actually not the tumah going out; it's the procession of taking the corpse out of the house, because it's going to go through that doorway. So it hasn't happened yet. We consider that the tumah is spreading out that doorway. I hear it's whichever way it's going to go.
But it makes no sense about something that makes no sense. It's the same.
No, if you want to argue that the whole house is filled with tumah, you want to say you don't understand tumah is different. But to say
That's
that
the root that
tumah needs to go out a physical door, or can't, or is
no, not
is challenging to understand.
no, not to the corpse. No, it's that. That one doesn't have to go anywhere. It's where you take it.
It's the corpse that's going to be moving, and based on that,
That's going to happen in 10 minutes.
But based on that,
now and then, all the doors in the house can change.
right? But based on that, so yeah, right now there's a corpse that's the plan is we're going to take it out through that door. That means that door is going to be tummy. If we don't have any plan, then they're all tummy, and if they're all tummy equally. Yeah. Okay.
Is there a retroactive effect? Whereas with the corpse, you're talking about something in the future.
Yeah.
It's not retroactive. It's in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, we'll see in a minute why it actually is retroactive. You'll see in a moment. There is
There's a lot.
no. There's going to be one thing that's going to turn out that it really is retroactive. You'll see in a moment. So you have a lot of doors. Kulan Tameim. They're all tummy. Niftach echad mehem. One of the doors is open, the rest are closed. So then, who tummy v'kulam tayrim? Okay, because we've designated the way out, and the rest are not. Now, when we say hu tamei v'kulam tayrim, we're referring to that if there are utensils under that doorway or in that doorway, then those utensils are now tamei. Let's say they're all locked or they're all open, but he has a machshava, he has a thought, an intent that I'm going to take it out that way. Now it's just an intent, but it seems to help. That saves all the other doors, even though there's no really difference. It's just his intent, the person that's going to carry him out. That's only if from originally before he passed away. So he had intent that for the funeral we're going to take him out that way. Basil says even after he passes away, you can then think which doorway, and all the rest become tar. Okay, now this is very interesting. Amar Abaishia, it was stated about this. Amar Abaishia, litar esapsachim mikano lahaba. When Basil says that it's going to be tahar, if there were utensils there, until he decided which doorway it was going to go out from. All those utensils are tummy. After he decides which doorway, in the doorways, all the doorways, there's only right now. There's been a shift in the tumah and tara that only the one doorway that he decided is going to be tummy, and all the other doorways are going to be tar. But that's only from the decision onwards. But if there were utensils there beforehand, those utensils become tummy. If the new utensils get brought there, then those are tar. But we don't go retroactive. Now, why not? Why can't you say that whatever door he goes out of, that was the original door that should be tummy? Now, obviously, you don't say Breira. Breira would tell me that what actually happens is what was really the whole time. The fact is, it never went through the other doors. They're tummy because it could have. Now we found out which one it actually is going. We go retroactive and make everything tar. Okay. What did we say before? That Reb Hoshea holds Yesh Breira. Now we have a law from Hilchas Tumah that Reb Hoshea says Ein Breira. It's a contradiction because it's only Mikan Lahaba. I have a little bit of a question on this. Why do we need such a complicated story? Why don't we just say, if Yesh Breira, whichever door you actually took it out of, then everyone should hold Ein Breira now, because all of the doorways were tummy, even though I took it out through only one door. We don't say that. We say, oh, because of the thought was it, and then the back, the thought. Why doesn't it go Lamafreya because of the thought? Why doesn't it go Lamafreya because of the actual taking out? I'm not sure what happened there. Okay.
I never understood what is the point. This is rabbinic.
It's actually going to be
unless you designated what door, the route to the courts out of the
right.
house, the entire house.
Yeah.
And that's rabbinic.
I don't think so. I think it's deraisa.
I think that's deraisa.
At least based on this Gemara, we view it as a deraisa. We'll see in a moment. Yeah. Halach l'mesh misinai. It's halach l'mesh misinai. Yeah. Okay. So the Gemara answers Eipach. Eipach means we'll switch the opinions around. Reb Hoshea holds Ein Breira, and Rabbi Yochanan holds Yesh Breira, and then we've resolved the problem. Reb Hoshea amar Ein Breira, Rabbi Yochanan amar Yesh Breira. Okay, we fixed the issue. But whenever you fix the issue, it's like the Rubik's Cube. You solve one side, you have to figure out what to do with the other sides now. Unless you're 9 years old. Now, what do we do with Rabbi Yochanan? Because we thought we had Rabbi Yochanan, we didn't ask any questions on Rabbi Yochanan. If Rabbi Yochanan held Ein Breira, but now that we switched Rabbi Yochanan, he holds Yesh Breira, now we come up that we have a problem. Does Rabbi Yochanan hold Breira? Misli Rabbi Yochanan Breira, V'amar Rabasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Ravasi says, name of Rabbi Yochanan, Ha'achin Shecholku, brothers that have an inheritance property, they're considered lekuchasin. They're considered purchasers. Machzirin zelazeh b'yovel. When yovel comes, they have to redivide it because everything goes back to its original owner. Now, the original owner is the estate, but then after yovel, they have to redivide it, and they're now back as partners instead of owners of half and half of each one's of the division. In other words, they divide it up every 49 years. They redivide it because it goes back to the estate. That means that Rabbi Yochanan holds Ein Breira. Why? Why does he hold Ein Breira? This is what Naftali was saying. This is what, because if when they inherited the property originally, we go retroactive after the division back to the original inheritance, that was always theirs. So then why should it go back to by Yovel? it was always that they're not purchasers from each other. It was always their inheritance. But if we say ein breira, then we say that they're purchasers and it has to get redivided every yovel. So this is a statement of Rabbi Yochanan that they're considered purchasers, which means that ein breira. And now Rabbi Yochanan, the way we switched it, Rabbi Yochanan holds yesh breira. Now we have a statement of Rabbi Yochanan that holds ein breira. So the Gemara says, well, maybe this we could resolve. Maybe let's say like this. The laws of Yovel are deraisa laws, Torah laws. So the Torah laws, when it comes to Torah laws, we're strict about this. We don't say anything works retroactive. It doesn't go back to its original. That was the original intent. So therefore, by Yovel, we'll say ein breira, and therefore they're considered purchasers and they have to redivide it. That would be Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. But what caused us to say that Rabbi Yochanan holds yesh breira? That was based on the discussion about the tchumen with the barrel. We were talking about, can you carry a barrel or an animal further than where the other partner would be allowed to go? Do we say that it's yours entirely from the beginning of Yom Tif? Now, what's the laws of tchumen? That's we're going to consider a derabanan. So Rabbi Yochanan would say yesh breira ana derabanan and ein breira ana deraisa. B'derabanan, okay, aval b'derabanan islay, but he holds breira by a derabanan, and therefore he would say that you can carry the barrel and the animal wherever you need to, wherever you're allowed to go. Gemara says b'derabanan mi islay. Now, what you just said is that Rabbi Yochanan holds breira by a derabanan. But 1 second. Vatani Ayay. Ayay is the name of a sage. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Eina the Masnal Snei Dvarim Kechad, Ela im Bachach al Mizrach, Eruv al Mizrach, Mayrav, Eruv al Mayrav. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that if someone's setting up an Eruv, why is he setting up an Eruv? Because he wants to hear the drasha. The rabbi is going to come. He wants to, yeah, we learned this in Eruv and probably in other places. The rabbi is going to come and he's going to speak out there in the open fields or where the base medrash was, which was usually outside the city. So he doesn't know which side the rabbi is going to come to. So he wants to set up 2 eruvin, or maybe there's 2 rabbis that are coming. He doesn't know which one he's going to go to the next day. So he can't say that I'm going to decide tomorrow, set up 2 eruvin and decide tomorrow. There's a problem with that because that would require a breira. Which one, when Yom Tov came in or Shabbos came in, which one was the one that you wanted?
If you set up a food outside of the club, right? Should I go with you for a walk out there?
No, you would have to have set it up for me. You would have to be my shliach originally when Yom Tov came in. Oh, I set it up.
Yeah,
I set up. I would have to be your shliach to have set it up with you in mind.
Okay, so you put food out there, enough food for 10 people. You and 8 of your buddies went out there. You're
Right.
there. Now I put food out there.
Right.
I can bring you and my
No.
buddies.
No, because I didn't put the food there.
No, you put food in that.
Yeah.
I put food in that.
Yeah.
He puts food
So-
for you.
Oh,
I don't know. It's up to, I have
No.
enough for 10 people. Not any 10
Right.
people, right?
no, it would have to be those specific people.
I don't think so.
Yeah. You can make an eruv for your whole city, but that's because that's everyone there.
I designate who the people are when I put the food out there.
I think so, yeah. That, more than you have to designate, you have to be the shliach to put it there. They have to designate you to put it there. I think so.
Okay.
So now we have a question like this. This is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. I can't have 2 eruvin because 2 chachamim are going to come. But however, what I can do is Elam b'chacham mizrach iruva lemizrach. If there's one chacham that's coming, then what I can do is but I don't know which side he's going to come to. Then I can put an erev on both sides, and I can say tomorrow which one I'm going to go to. Now, there's an inconsistency here, because if I can't put an erev to both sides, because two rabbis are coming, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to go to. And tomorrow I'll decide if I'm in the mood of this type of shir or that type of shir. I can't do that. Why? Because that would require breira. What did I have intent for originally when Yom Tov came in, which I didn't have any intent. I'd have to go to say something retroactive. But if there's one chacham that's coming, but I don't know which side he's going to, so I set up two erevin, and that's going to work. Because tomorrow I'm going to find out which side he went to. Why does that work? You have the same problem that you have with two rabbis coming. You have to say breira, that which one retroactively was the correct one. So it says vahavinan ba. I'm sorry, I skipped the word. But if you're going to do the rabbi that's coming to the two rabbis that are coming, that you can't do. Vahavinan ba. We have a question. We deliberated on this. If there's two rabbis coming to two sides, I can't set up two erevin and decide tomorrow which type of shir I'd like to go to. They ain't breira, because I don't say anything retroactive. If he's coming to one side, one rabbi, but I don't know which side he's coming to, I can't. And over there, I can set up two erevin. We should say ein breira, that we can't do any retroactive designation of which erev is the one that's supposed to work. There's something inconsistent. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says ukvar b'chacham. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says now that there's a difference between igloi milsa lemafreya and breira. Breira means that what happens later on goes back and it says which one was it's retroactive. Breira is retroactive. What happens now, it starts from an earlier date, an earlier time. Igloi milsa lemafreya is what happened. I'm only going to find out tomorrow. So the Chacham has come before Yom Tov. One of my Erevin actually took place because I said whichever side the Chacham comes to, that's the side that my Erev should work. The Chacham came. I get the news slowly. They didn't have the walkie-talkies. They didn't have that. So I only found out about it tomorrow. So tomorrow on Yom Tov day, I can decide. It's not a decision. I can use the Erev that I set up before. It's not retroactive. It took place. I just didn't know about it. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. Okay, what does Rabbi Yochanan hold? Alma, Leslie Rabbi Yochanan Breira. See, Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold of Breira. The only way that this would work is with the Igloi Milsa Lemafreya. Igloi Milsa. I know now what actually happened earlier, but it's not retroactive. So that means that Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold the breira. But what's worse is that this was a din derabanan, because tchumen is derabanan. Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold of breira even by a derabanan. We tried to resolve this issue that by a deraisa he doesn't hold the breira, by a derabanan he does, and now we said v'chitema that the derabanan islay, that he holds it by a derabanan. We have a case of tchumen where Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold the breira either. Gemara goes back and says elolam loitepa. Okay, if that's the case, then we can't switch the names around. Rabbi Yochanan's going to need to hold ein breira. That's going to leave us with a problem, because now Rabbi Hoshia is going to hold yesh breira. We had a problem with Rabbi Hoshia holding yesh breira because of the case of the tumas mace. We said over there that Rabbi Hoshia holds ein breira. Rabbi Hoshia breira, that's b'deraisa, ava b'derabanan isla. So what we'll say is like this: the same answer that we wanted to use for Rabbi Yochanan, we'll use for Rabbi Hoshia, and over here we'll talk a work. We'll say that Rabbi Hoshia holds yesh breira. So now we have the question, but by tumas mace, we said that it's only mikana lahaba where those other doorways are tahar. it doesn't go back and say what the things that were in there originally are tahar. Those things that were there originally are tamid. We don't do anything retroactive. Why? Because that's a deraisa. That's right. I told you it's a deraisa. Now Rashi says, yeah. So Rashi says, halach l'maish misinai kedem amin besukkah the hilchas tuma hachik miri lahu. We learned that. So yeah, on the side I have from the Rashash a note. It quotes Sukkah Daf Vav. In Sukkah Daf Vav, there's a halach l'maish misinai that says three things are halach l'maish misinai. The Rashash says this is a mistake. Over there, it only says shiurin, chatitzin, and mechitzin. Doesn't talk about tuma being halach l'maish misinai. This really belongs. There's a note in Rashi that says Daf Vav, Sukkah Daf Vav, and that's a mistake. Okay.
Who is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen him before. Yeah, I don't know.
Didn't make the chart.
Huh?
Yeah, he's not on the chart.
No, apparently they both done.
So we don't care about him. He's not a part. He's
Ohio is like, where's
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh. That's right.
nickname.
the only time they have Ohio is Russia. That lessons are about Avram,
Right. Yeah. Does Rashi ever say there were dots on Ayoy or something? There's yeah. Sometimes kids get names because of something that their parents call them. Their parents are saying, "Where is he? Where is he?" Okay. I got it. They say this boy is going to camp, so the parents are worried because they say, "What are you gonna do if someone asks your name?" He's only like 8 years old. They say, "My Chaim, my name's Chaim." So it says, "But what if they ask you your last name?" They didn't know if the boy knows his last. What if they ask you what's your last name? So he says, "You bad boy." Okay. Chaim, that's a joke. Okay. Darish Marzutra taught halacha k'Rabbi the halacha is like Rabbi that we're going to make a difference. Why does he say Hoshia now instead of Hoshia? The whole time it was Hoshia. Okay, Amar Shmuel, Shor shel patam harei karagli kol adam, Shor shel roya hareihu karagli oisa ha'ir. Okay, there's someone that fattens up the meat to sell it. He basically sells animals just to be shechted. And then there's a shepherd that he does not sell meat. He's not a meat salesperson. Yeah, he's just a babysitter for the animals. So Shmuel says like this: Shoshel patam, an ox that belongs to the person that sells meat. He fattens up the meat. That can even go for out to the city over on Yom Tov. If someone from the city over on Yom Tov shows up, we can say that the patam had in mind that it should be everyone that could possibly reach here on Yom Tov. It could go to that to the tchum even for other cities that are surrounding. However, Shoshel Roya, but for the shepherd, it only goes to the tchum of the people in the city, because he didn't have in mind that he's going to sell. He's not a salesperson that people come from other cities to buy from him. It's possible that someone actually gets a goat or a sheep from him. It's possible that it could happen, but you're going to the wrong place. The real place to buy meat is by the pond. Yeah, it could be. So it has the restrictions of just the city, but not of the people of the city, but it can't go to the other cities. Yeah. Hashayal keli mechaver me'erev Yom Tov. If someone borrowed a keli from his friend on Erev Yom Tov, so the Mishnah said about this that it has the limitations of the tchumen for the shayal, the borrower. Okay, that makes sense because he borrowed it Erev Yom Tov. It's not going to restrict it to the Gemara says pshita. Of course, he borrowed it Erev Yom Tov. It says like tzricha shlei masr ela b'Yom Tov. He borrowed it Erev Yom Tov, but the guy says when I see you in shul, I'll give it to you. So maybe we should say that it's not in his possession. Until Yom Tov comes in, Kamash Mlan, we say that it is in his possession. This supports Rabbi Yochanan. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hashel kelim mechaver me'erev Yom Tov, al pi shlei nasan le'al b'Yom Tov, ri'ak ragli hashayel. It's already considered that it's in the hands of the borrower. Okay, that's taka chiddush. B'Yom Tov, but let's say you borrow something on Yom Tov. We say karagli amashel belongs to it goes on the restrictions of the owner, the lender. When it says pshita, of course, he'd only showed up on Yom Tov. It says like tricha the rugel v'shalom. He would always borrow it from him. Every day he comes to him, he asks him, can I borrow your whatever, your coffee mug, shoehorn, something. So your towel for the mikveh. So he does it every day. Maybe he was expecting that he's going to show up on Yom Tov as well, and therefore it should have the restrictions of the borrower. Maybe he'll find some other person and he'll borrow it from him. How do you know he's going to come to me just because he did it the last few weeks? Okay, it's a very interesting sugya. If a woman borrows from her friend ingredients to make a cake or to make something, a dish, so usually in such a case, the Gemara would use the term lava, because you're going to return, but money doesn't return. It's not the actual coins that you return. Shal is used for a keli. Lava is used for money. And the difference is if you have to give the item back or if you just give the value back, the amount. So this should have been lava, because when you borrow ingredients, you don't give back the ingredients, you give back other. But the Gemara doesn't use lava here because it's on Yom Tov that she's borrowing these ingredients. And lava is usually for money. So it uses the term shal, even though it's not perfectly accurate. Lamed Vav Hey. It will come along, right? Lahapam Yulava. Yeah, a company. Mefarshim say by Levi that it's a third child, so she can only hold Ruvain and Shimon. I'm going to need my husband to come with me to hold hands when we walk across the street, to hold Levi's hand. So, okay, she borrows ingredients from the friend, so she has the restrictions of the friends. The flour, the water, the this, the that, the tavlin. And Rabbi Yehuda says not water, but she's going to have the restrictions of the people that she borrowed from. Kisalik Rababa, when Rababa went to Eretz Yisrael, Amar, Rava, means Yehi Ratzon, the Ema Milsa de Tiskabel, that I should say something smart. My first impressions. I hope that I make a good impression on them. In Eretz Yisrael, I don't think they held so much of Bavel. Maybe he wants to lift up their the esteem of the Bavel rabbis. Could be. Ashkechela Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chanina Bar Papi, Rabbi Zera. So he finds Kisalik. When he comes to Eretz Yisrael, he finds Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chanina Bar Papi, Rabbi Zera. Ba'amrila, and there are those that say that it was Rabbi Avo, Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, and Rabbi Tzknafcha. These three sages. The Yasser Kamri, and they're sitting and they're discussing. Amai. Why do we say that there's restrictions on this cake of the owner of the water and the owner of the salt and the owner of the dough? Let it just become nullified. We have the dough there, and someone just put in, someone owned the salt should be nullified in the dough, and it should just go after the feet of the restrictions of the tchum of the owner of the dough. It's batal. Amalu Rababa says to them, here's this chance. If someone has one measurement of wheat, and it happens to fall into his friend's 10 measurements of wheat, is the other person allowed to eat the whole thing and then just smile, or, rejoice? Chadi is like be mesameach and laugh. Is he allowed to do? Is he allowed to do that? In other words, basically, it sounds like what he just said. This is going to be a little confusing because the people are going to answer back over here like as if that wasn't this point. It sounds like what he says, like if I have like 100, I have 10 $10 bills, and you give me one, and I borrow one from you or something, I put it in there. So it's bottle. It's bottle. I don't know you anything. I made it bottle. So he's saying, 1 second. If someone has 10 kavin of wheat, and your one kav falls in it, so the other person eats the whole thing. Well, how can you say bittul here? It belongs to someone. I mean, that's the
It's going to be a question of is it definite that Truma was given?
Yeah. That's not our issue. Taisus on the bottom has a discussion. What's the question even? It's a davar sheish lamatirin. And Taisus gets into min b'minay, min b'sheina minay, which is very relevant in Siman Kuf Beis, that Taisus. Kuf Beis, right? That was min b'minay? Yeah. So that's the point that the Gemara is going to be sort of ignoring and it's toying with it, but only at the end is it going to come out with that. So what happened here is achichola. They laughed at him. Amalu, he says, responds back, Gilusaichu Shakli, did I take your jackets that you're laughing at me? Like, that's a funny expression why they should laugh at him. But there's another pshat, Gilusaichu Shakli means you should take off your robes. Apparently the rabbis wore robes. So I think he's saying like, I'm going to take your robes. You don't deserve to be rabbis, something like that, if you don't understand what I'm saying. Hadar achichale, they laughed at him again. Amar Rabbeishia says, Shaper avada achichale, it's good that they laughed at him. It says, Maishna chitim b'sa'irem. Why didn't he say wheat fell into barley? Why didn't he say that? The havalu min b'sheina minay, the min b'sheina minay batal. That would have been batal. But chitim b'chitin, when it comes to wheat falling into wheat, nihid l'Rabbi Yehuda lai batal, but l'Rabbanan miftal batal. According to the Rabbanan, min b'minay is taka batal. Let's talk about this. 1 second. Yeah. Min b'minay is machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. Min b'minay means two things of the same type, same flavor, same. Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's batal. Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's never batal, that they actually strengthen each other. And we hold, the Chachamim hold, min b'minay is batal. The same type, 3 pieces of meat, 2 are kosher, 1's not kosher. Rabbi Yehuda would say, oh, that's for sure not batal. And we hold that, no, it is batal. Rabbi Yehuda holds it's min b'minay. We hold min b'minay is batal. He says it's not batal. Min b'minay means the type with its same type. Min b'sheina minay means one type with a different type, meat with potatoes. And then you have an issue of flavor or something. If you can remove it, then it's not going to be batal. But we're talking about things that you can't remove. Amalu Rav Safra. Rav Safra says, Moshe Shaper Kamet. That's sort of like an expression, like, are you for real? That's Rashi over here says, he's like swearing by Moshe. Why are you saying that it's good that they laughed? You haven't heard what this comment was of Rav Chia Kutusva in the name of Rav. Someone has a granary. Now in the granary is grain, but in that grain is also some pebbles. And when you sell the grain, you sell it with the pebbles. And that's allowed to a certain amount, not a lot, but a certain amount would be acceptable. Someone goes in there and starts taking the pebbles out. So the owner of the granary is going to lose out because the volume is going to be less. So chayav l'shalim le'demechitim, he has to pay him not the price of pebbles, he has to pay him the price of wheat. Right. So he has to pay. He has to pay not the price of pebbles, he has to pay the price of wheat because he caused it to alma kila chasre. You see that we don't say that the pebbles are something that was bottle. You say that you actually lost in the measurement. So achanami kila chasre. We should also say that the ingredients of the cake shouldn't be bottle. You see, even though pebbles should be bottle to eat, but you don't say that because there's a volume. So here too, you can't say that it's bottle. Amalei Abaya says, look at what's happening. There's a claim that's going on where there's a person that's claiming it. Over here, I could really say it's bottle because even though there's now a volume in this, but there's no one here that's claiming that give me those items that are in your cake back. But so you owe it as a debt or whatever because you borrowed it or whatever, you have to give something back. But there's no one that's claiming that. So really there could be a bittul on the cake, on the tavlin. When it comes to that, to the pebbles being taken out, there's someone that's actually losing money that says, I want that. Okay. Amalei, so Rav Safra responds, but according to you, Hadam Rav Chizda nevela betela b'shchuta. Rav Chizda is explaining the opinion of Rabbi Yechanan. Of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda held min b'mina is batal. Rabbi Yehuda's min b'mina is loy batal. It's never batal. What's considered min b'mina? So he says nevela could be batal b'shchuta. It could be batal b'shchuta. Not the way we said. That was an example. Why? Because even though they look the same, but the shchuta can never turn into a nevela, which means like this: nevela gives off tumah, shchuta doesn't give off tumah. Nevela is the carcass of an animal. Shchuta never won't give off tumah. And if truma touches the shchuta, even though you don't know which one it is, you have three mixed up or something. Even though you don't know which one it is, you can't burn that truma. Because you don't know if it taka became tummy. You don't say that it became bottle and now it's tummy. However, shchuta, I'm saying it the wrong way. I'm saying the second way. Nevela betela b'shchuta. The nevela does become bottle in the shchuta, and you could eat it because the shchuta can never become nevela. That means that they're different items. However, shchuta ain't a betela benevela, but the shchuta doesn't become batal in nevela to say that everything is going to give off tumah. Lefisha efshin nevela shetasa shchuta, because a nevela could turn into a shchuta. How? After it rots, it doesn't give off tumah anymore. So since the nevela could then become from a tumah aspect, it becomes untame when it rots. So hachinami, so too the chias leibaylam loy betela. Uh-huh. So what he wants to say is so this also, if it has an owner, even though right now it doesn't have typhon, but if it would have an owner, it would not be batal, like as you're saying. So it doesn't actually need the owner. You were making a difference between if it has an owner, that's someone that's claiming it. Maybe you'll say that that's actually so, that because there's no owner, because that even though there's no owner, but there could be an owner, so that would be that it should not be batal. But we have a brayso. Diamond kamish yesh lem bailam. Cheftzei hefker also have a location where they're restricted to on Yom Tov. it's as if they have an owner. So the distinction that we're making over here is that he was telling him that you have to make a distinction between if there is an owner, if there isn't an owner. If there is an owner, then it's not going to be. If there is an owner, then it's not going to be batal. If there isn't an owner, then it should be batal because no one's claiming it back. So Amalei, but he says you can't make that distinction because even something that's hefker, it also has a location. Amalei mika medames isur lemamaina. This was like the answer that we were waiting for the whole time. Is how can you compare ritual law to monetary law? Isura batal, mamaina lay batal. Money is not batal. The time mamai, what's the reason? Okay, so now we have to go back. So why over here? This is a ritual law. The ingredients that are in. So why is it not batal? Maybe they're going to make a dough without borrowing, but they're going to make a dough together. And if they make a dough together, then it will have restrictions of all the owners. Rav Amar tavlin l'taima avida v'taima le'batal. Rava says that spices are never bottled because you can always taste them. Ravashi Amar mishum david davar sheish l'matir v'chol davar sheish l'matir nefel by batal. Ravashi says it's something that will become permitted later, after Yom Tov, to move it wherever you want. And so therefore, we don't say the laws of bittul that you can already do it now, when later on you'll be able to move it. So that's the rule. Okay. Leave it over there.
Almost there.